Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to prep and bedazzle a stainless steel cup. So you'll need a stainless steel cup. This is a 16-ounce cup. You'll need some rhinestone trays. I have a few different sizes for the different sizes you'll need for the cup. You'll need some paint. For this particular cup, I used black paint. These are just some different glues that I use. I use Liquid Fusion, Fusion Tack, and I also use E6000. I used a mixture of all three of these on this cup. You need a paintbrush, a rhinestone wax pencil, a piece of sandpaper. This is 150 grit. And you also need rhinestones. That's the size 3mm. And for this particular cup, you need about 1,500 rhinestones. So I have 2 packs of my 1,000 count rhinestones in 5mm. And then a pair of glasses and a mask. I just like to use those for safety precautions. And there's my E6000 glue. I like to use the one with the precision tip because it helps keep things nice and neat. All right, so those are your materials, and we will get started with bedazzling the cup. So the first thing we're going You also want to make sure you get the top and bottom of the cup really well, like underneath the rim of the cup. And I also wanted to use a sheet of paper underneath. If you can see, I don't know if you can see, but you should be able to see the pieces of the cup are actually falling. Some of the debris from the cup is falling down onto the paper. I like to do that so that when I'm done, I can just take that and toss it into the trash. But I also wanted to show you guys why I like to wear my mask and my glasses, because there is a good bit of debris that comes off of these cups when you're sanding them. And also, I wanted to point out, no, you do not have to sand these particular cups. There is a smaller size that I use for my cup sets, the shot glass size. That particular cup you do want to sand because it's very smooth, but the 16-ounce cups, they're pretty rough on the surface already. But I know that some people do like to sand their cups, so I wanted to create a video that shows me sanding this cup. But no, you do not have to sand this particular cup. And there are some of the debris, close up of the debris. And as you can see the surface of the cup has been scuffed up some, so that's going to work really well for allowing the paint to adhere to the cup really well, and also for the glue and rhinestones to adhere to the cup very well also. So next, you want to make sure that you clean the cup, since we just got through sanding the cup with the sandpaper. I like to use either an alcohol wipe. You can use alcohol on a piece of paper towel. I use paper towel and water, and then I'll go behind and use alcohol on it. But if you just have water and paper towel, that works perfectly as well. You don't really have to have the alcohol. The alcohol is just really good for making sure there is no oil or no debris left on the cup when you get ready to paint it or put the glue in the rhinestones. I know some people don't like to use the alcohol because it is very strong smell. And in this particular video, I wiped the debris off with the napkin in the water. You can toss it or you can wipe it. That's a piece of cardstock. So it was pretty thick and it was easy to wipe everything off of, and I just reused the paper because there is a good chance that you'll get glue on your table. So I like to protect my table, or paint. You can get paint on your table too. I like to protect my table by putting a piece of cardstock down, or you can put a piece of paper down, tissue paper, napkin, whatever you have on hand. So here I put some paint on my brush and I'm going to brush the surface of the cup all the way around. I like to start from the top, go all the way to the bottom. And you want to make sure, and this is very, very important, you want to make sure you put a very light coat of paint on your cup. Enough to where it covers the surface of the cup and you can see the color, but not so much that it's too thick, because what I found out is that if you use too much paint, it will peel. And that's why it's important to use the sandpaper on your cup, because that's one of the things that helps to prevent the paint from peeling on your cup. But these cups, and also lots of other cups, have been known to peel when you put the paint on there. So you want to make sure you don't use too much. Now, I know some people like to use spray paint. I don't. I feel like it's a step that I can avoid with this particular project. However, if you do like to use spray paint, you're more than welcome to use spray paint. I would suggest covering the bottom, unless of course you want to spray paint the bottom as well. But the rim of the cup, I don't like to get paint on that. So if you can put painter's tape and cover that, that's perfect. But the cup is all covered and we're ready to move on to the next step. So I did want this video to be a step-by-step, very thorough video. So there will be a lot of talking in this video. I do apologize, but I do want to make sure I cover all my bases and make sure you have all the information you need to create a beautiful bedazzled stainless steel cup. So right now what I'm doing is I did go ahead and wash my paintbrush off with water, and the wet brush, I'm just using it to clean the excess paint off of the rim of the cup and also off the bottom of the cup. Make sure you have a clean surface, no extra paint, and but it is a thinner glue. So I like to put it in a precision tip bottle. And as you can see, the thin line created the perfect amount of glue. So I can just pick the rhinestones up and lay them on top of the glue, and it'll spread the glue as you set the rhinestone down onto the cup. The wax pencil that I'm using, I do like to use sticky tabs as well. So just on the other end of that wax pencil, it is a piece of blue sticky tab. The reason I like to use that is because you can shape that sticky tab to be whatever size you want it to be. So sometimes the wax side is a little too big to pick up the 3 millimeters. And as you can see right here, I'm using my thumbnail to kind of peel some of that wax off, because glue does get onto your wax tip and makes it harder for you to pick up the rhinestones. So you will from time to time have to peel both the glue and the sticky tabs off to create a sticky tip again. Work with more than one line of glue. That's a little bit later on when you get the hang of things and you decide that one line is a little too slow for you, or if you like to work with one line but you want your glue spread a lot better to get more coverage. The tip of that paintbrush is a lifesaver. You want to take the tip of the paintbrush to spread some of the glue out, and I believe I show a demonstration of that a little later in the video. If not, I'll go back and I'll add that in for you guys, because that's a very important and very helpful tip to get the rhinestones to adhere properly to your cup. Okay, so now that we have that second line of rhinestones applied, we're just going to do the same thing with the tip of the wax pencil, which is go through and make sure that the rhinestones are properly lined up on the cup. And the particular technique that I'm using is called the honeycomb method. So for the honeycomb method, you just place a rhinestone in between two of the rhinestones that are above it to create a seamless look. I also wanted to point out the fact that using paint as a base before you begin bedazzling the cup is what helps to create a seamless look as well, because you won't be able to see that silver in between the gaps when you finish your cup. It'll look black, which is closest to the color of these particular rhinestones because they have a black base. So right now I am using the Fusion Tack glue, which I also put in a precision tip bottle because it's also a more running glue. It's a lot less thick than the E6000, but it's still a really great glue, and it adheres the rhinestones to the cup really well also. So I just used the tip of the torn off paintbrush that I was talking about earlier, and it really helps to spread this glue because this particular glue you will want to spread before you apply the rhinestones, because as you can see, it is a white glue instead of clear. However, once it dries, it will dry 100% clear, so you don't have to worry about any white showing. Of the three glues, E6000 is my favorite glue, but it does have a very toxic smell to it, which is why I use these two alternatives. I like the hold of Fusion Tack better than Liquid Fusion. However, I don't like that it's white. It makes it really hard to see when you're placing the rhinestones down, but the more you work with it, the easier it is to work with. So a lot of people prefer the Fusion Tack. I don't mind the Fusion Tack, but it's not my favorite, but it is a great glue. So if you can kind of get the hang of working with it, it's a great glue to work with. So I'm just going to put the third layer of rhinestones exactly the same way as I did the other two with the honeycomb method. You're going to place one rhinestone in between the two above it to create that seamless look. As I stated, the white glue does make it a little bit harder to see, but if you use your wax pencil to position the rhinestones just like I did there, you'll be just fine working with this glue. So it had some excess glue left over, so I didn't really have to apply another line of glue. So I'm just using the tip of that paintbrush to kind of smooth some of that glue downward, and as you can see, it created another layer. You can go back in and add a little glue here or there if you feel like it's not enough, because the thing about the Fusion Tack and the Liquid Fusion, it is a thinner glue, so you do want to make sure you have enough there, because if you don't, the rhinestones will not stick. That is very, very important. The difference between Fusion Tack and Liquid Fusion is Fusion Tack, you do have a good amount of working time, so it dries a lot slower than the E6000 in my experience, but it dries a lot faster than the Liquid Fusion. Liquid Fusion, I have been able to spread 3 or 4 lines of that glue and it will not dry before I'm done. So if you get the hang of it and you want to move a little bit faster, I recommend using Liquid Fusion. The tip and push it down into the with a little white top. There's a hole. You'll be able to see it once you get the glue. And then you just pierce the foil covering that's underneath that cap and then twist on the precision tip, and you'll be able to use the glue the same way you can use the precision tip bottles. And that little black cap right there is for when you're not using the E6000. You take the precision tip off, just put the black cap on, and that keeps the glue from spilling out. So I am going to discuss the pros and cons of E6000 glue. Like I said, I just want to be really thorough and transparent about everything you need to know about bedazzling these cups. As you can see, that E6000 precision tip was very easy to apply. You just needed to squeeze one line on, and then you can go right away and bedazzle the cups. Of that E6000 too, but it dries very clear and it is very strong, but it also has a very strong smell as well, and the smell is toxic. If you read the warnings on the label of the E6000, it does say that it has a toxic smell and you should use it in fresh air. So make sure you have a very well ventilated room, a room where you open the window or have some air flowing through. You're definitely going to want to do that when you're using this glue. I also use a mask sometimes when I'm using this glue, a regular cloth face mask, because the smell can be a bit overwhelming. And you also want to make sure that you take breaks when you're using this glue and get to some fresh air, because it is toxic. It's toxic, but it is a great glue to use for bedazzling cups. It's actually my favorite glue, but I have actually began leaning more towards Liquid Fusion, because Liquid Fusion is it's non-toxic, and it has a bit of a glue smell, but it's non-toxic. It doesn't smell like E6000. And I know that a lot of people can't take really strong smells. So as far as which glue works the best, as far as strong bond and adhering to the cup very well, that would be E6000. As far as a longer work time, that would be Liquid Fusion. And in third place, it would just be the Fusion Tag, simply because it's white and it takes a long time for it. As you can see, it still hasn't dried clear yet. It takes hours before it can dry clear. I feel like using the Fusion Tag, it's kind of like flying blind almost, because get it. Bedazzling cups is therapeutic. I find it to be very therapeutic. And It's also great because once you're done, I mean, the sense of accomplishment that you feel after doing something that took hours to create and it created something very beautiful, it's a very good feeling after you're done. But like I said, I understand that it could be a very tedious task, so it is important to take breaks. I like to take, like every 2 hours, I'll take a break. If you find that you need a break a little bit more faster than every 2 hours, that's fine. But it's also important to remember that if bedazzling is something that you want to go into, it's not something that you should rush, because you want to make sure that you are creating, putting your best foot forward. Really, you really want to take your time with something like this, especially if you're going into business or if you want to create something to sell. You do want to make sure spillage going on. So I'm just going to peel that dried up glue that spilled out off, and just wipe it onto a piece of paper towel or a napkin. And I'm going to remove that precision tip and place the black cap on top of it so that it won't spill out anymore, because I'm going to move on to a more advanced way of applying rhinestones, which is with the Liquid Fusion, which is my favorite way to apply rhinestones. You get a lot of them done a lot faster, and it's great because the work time with Liquid Fusion is a lot longer because it dries a lot slower. So that's about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 or 10, depending on how well you spread the glue. That's about 9 or 10 rows of rhinestones. Multiple types of glue, E6000 in particular. E6000 has a much stronger hold than any other glue I've ever used. So once I get to the very bottom, I like to use at least 1 to a few layers of E6000 to apply the base of my rhinestones, because I like to ensure that those don't peel up or fall off, because although the other glues do adhere very well, E6000 adheres the best. So I like to make sure that I use a layer of E6000 at the bottom. The thing is, you don't have to do this, because there are plenty of cups that are made using only Liquid Fusion or only Fusion Tack, and I have not had anything peel up before. But because E6000 is my favorite glue, it's my personal favorite, I like to use that at the very bottom of my cups. That's just personal preference. It's not something that you have to do. I also wanted to point out the Fusion Tack. As you can see, it's beginning to dry. One line is already completely dry. You can't see the white glue at all. And the other couple of lines that I use the Fusion Tack on, they're also beginning to dry. So it does dry clear, so don't worry about that. And you can just see that the lines have, it created a seamless look. You can't see any gaps or any spaces, and the black paint underneath also helps to create that seamless look. So this is what it should look like once you have applied the rhinestones from top to bottom, and you just keep going all the way around until you complete the cup. Okay, so this is what your cup will look like once it is completely done. I just want to show you guys the amount of rhinestones. Here is a spot where I ended up having to use a 3mm rhinestone. That's another spot. And once I'm done with the cup, I like to kind of examine it. As you can see, I've been doing. I like to examine the cup to make sure there are no dull looking rhinestones that need to be removed and replaced. I also like to make sure that they line up perfectly. Also to make sure that none of the rhinestones overlap each other. So this is how much is left. If you can remember at the beginning, I had 2 packs of 1,000 count 5mm rhinestones, and now I only have a half pack. So it takes about 1,500 of the 5mm rhinestones. And as you can see, I barely used any of the 3mm, but you do need the 3mm. That's a 1,000 count of 3mm rhinestones, and all of these rhinestones are available in my shop. I also have a stainless steel kit on the way that includes the glues, it includes the stainless steel cup, and also the rhinestones and the trays that you need to bedazzle these cups. So I'm just showing you what the glues look like. These are also available in my shop, or you can have them in the precision tip bottles. It just depends on what works best for you. The precision tip, they work great, but it doesn't dispense enough glue for me, since I am able to do multiple rows at a time. So I do like to use the glue straight from the bottle with the that paintbrush that I showed you that I broke off the sponge tip, and it allows you to bedazzle a lot of rows of rhinestones at one time. So this is my tutorial for how to bedazzle a stainless steel cup, and thank you guys for watching my video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And this is a video of me washing my cups. This is a set that I did for a bachelorette party. I do like to wash my cups after I'm done, because sometimes you get some glue inside of the cups and you want to make sure you clean them off. It also could have like a dull look to them because of the oils on our hands, or because you might have gotten a little bit of glue on the cups. And just because I like to clean my cups before I ship them out. So clean them, rinse them, dry them off, let them dry, and there you go. Look at how sparkly those cups are. They are so beautiful. I love this olive green AB and rose gold color together. And that rose gold with the hot pink, really pretty. So there you guys have it. This is my tutorial for how to bedazzle a stainless steel cup. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for my next video, which would be how to bedazzle a phone case. I do these phone cases with and without decor, so please stay tuned for the next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.